My name is Schoba. I'm an enterprise architect for artificial intelligence at OMV. I don't know if you know OMV, but it's an Austrian Vienna-based energy company, integrated chemicals, plastics, energy, and today I'm going to talk about our GenAI journey and our self-service GenAI platform, how we designed it, how we implemented it. So before we dive into the details, I want to set the stage a little bit to get you into how we as an enterprise work. And I want to do that by shortly talk about OMV so that you also understand our approaches and our design decisions. So as I said, we are Austrian-based. We are the largest industrial company in Austria. We are an integrated chemicals and energy company. And we are currently in a transformation phase into a circular, sustainable business model. We do geological science, chemical science, but we also do heavy industry. We do trading. We do a full-fledged retail chain, and also it's down to selling coffee at the fuel stations, right? So all of these business lines of business, all of these areas are not fully digital, but they all need digital assets. So what I want to get to is that you see that we have an internal need for digital platforms. Yes, and we operate in around 30 countries worldwide. So there is a very diverse business that we see. And what I like most in the company is that we have a very heterogeneous business model. So you see a lot of different things and the different platforms. And how we designed and implemented our GenAI platform is we develop it on demand. So we have hundreds of ideas and use cases from business. And what we do is we examine all of them and we try to find reoccurring patterns where we then can define building blocks and reference architectures that we can reuse in all these use cases. Yeah, and with these building blocks, we then build AI products, which we then publish for our customers, which are internal employees, but also AI developers, AI engineers, and we publish them on our platform, which we call AI Hub. So that's how we do it. And before we go into the detail of the AI Hub, I want to define a little bit how we understand a platform. What defines a platform for us? And I want to do that with a nice slide from Gregor Hoppe. You might know him here at this conference. He's one of the platform evangelists out there in the world, and I can really recommend his books. And if you think of a platform like the pyramid on the left side, there are two critical pitfalls, I would say. First, you anticipate that you know everything, all the demands, all the needs of your users. And even if that's possible, you will probably not be able to implement all the features and projects with a reasonably small central development team. So what it comes down to is the middle one here. You want to hide all the complex technologies under a unified interface. And by that, you allow a blooming, diverse application landscape on top of that. And if you do that right, also the ownership stays where it is. The ownership of the application stays with the application development teams, and they will then know the applications basically like the back of their hand, and they will not even be interested or have any idea of the complex technology that lies beyond that. So with that componentization, you can build a economy of speed on an economy of scale. And like Gregor says it here, if your users haven't built something that surprises you, you probably didn't build a platform. And I think that's a nice quote. And now let's really have a look at how we designed our platform and what are our approaches and what are the components of the platform. So our approach is that we have federated product development teams that develop AI products. They can be internal, but they can be also external developers. And we have one central platform team that develops the building blocks, the reference architectures, the infrastructure as a code for these federated product development teams. And the central platform team also serves as a center of excellence and as an enabler for the product development teams. And how do we enable the product development teams? By publishing central documentation, learning paths, design guidelines, and also the reference architectures together with infrastructure as a code on our platform for them. What we have also established, we have established a central AI solution pipeline where we funnel all these hundreds of ideas and use cases to be able to have an oversight and to be able to extract these reoccurring patterns. So for the adoption, we also established, and I can recommend that, establish a community of practice for AI. So we established this community of practice to be able for any AI interested employee, and for, of course, also for AI experts and AI developers to exchange their ideas, to exchange their experiences. This is a little bit much, I know, but I just want to don't go too much into detail. This is basically how our platform looks like. So what I want to get to is that on the very bottom, you can see the data platform. The AI platform will be, for an AI platform to be functioning, you will need a very good defined data platform with governed data products that you can rely on, that they are also have qualitative data behind that. Because without qualitative data, no AI solution that works with data will work. Then the actual AI platform, the base of the AI platform is the building blocks that I talked about. So here we develop, this is the responsibility of the platform team. The platform team develops these building blocks out of these reoccurring patterns. And with these building blocks, the product development teams develop various types of AI solutions. It could be chatbots, AI assistants, automations, batch processing, of course, content creation, or even now agents. And on top of that products, we have an API layer, or now let's say also MCP layer, to also have this buzzword mentioned, because there can be no session without mentioning MCP. But we have an API platform that publishes access to these API products. And for all of the products that need a user interface, we have the AI Hub, which is a web application, which provides access, a central point of access for all employees to all of these products where they should have access to via in a secure way. And also, besides publishing the products, we also publish, as I mentioned, the documentation, the learning paths, the developer access, the access to the building blocks and guidelines there. I want to have a short look on how the central platform team and the product development team's life cycle of software development interfere. So as I mentioned, the responsibility of the AI platform team on top is to have an oversight and evaluate all the AI use case backlog and identify what makes sense and where we want to develop a building block that we can reuse in other use cases. And then the product team develops these building blocks, and they are then used by the product development teams to implement their AI products. And if there is a need for a change of a product, of a building block, or if there is a need for a new building block, there is also a feedback, of course, into the actual backlog of the platform team to develop new building blocks. And hopefully, in the end, product development teams will produce well-designed AI products that can be published on the hub. So how do we provide access to for the product development teams to the building blocks? We have a central artifact repository, which makes total sense, which is governed, which is version controlled, with updated version of the building blocks, which can be used by the developers from their IDEs. Now, to the AI Hub itself, it's basically a web application, as I mentioned, and it provides access to the products that you can see here on the left side. What you see here is our internal GPT version, which is totally in our cloud and controlled, with no data flowing outside of our tenant. And what you can see, we have also a mobile version, and you can also see that we publish use cases, documentation, our links to our building blocks, and so on there in a central place. The benefit, the users don't get confused, because you know in the company now probably here are assistant, there are copilot, there these users got really confused. So it really works out well for us to have a central access point. I want to show you shortly a little bit the architecture of the AI Hub. I don't want to go too much into detail. But what I want to get to is on the left side, you will see the user uses the browser to access the actual infrastructure of the AI Hub. The AI Hub forwards, controls the tokens if they have the actual role to access a product, and then forwards the request with the tokens, with a different token that is really made for the backends to the actual products, which are in control of the product development teams, and also, as I mentioned, then owned by these teams, which is very important, because we don't want to care about their infrastructure so much, their operating model. And here on the top you see, for example, here RAG chatbots, but we can also connect to low-code platform developments like the Copilot Studio, ServiceNow, agents, and our strategic platforms, low-code platforms that we also have. We also want to publish these agents in our central access point. Or at the bottom, you can also see we, of course, offer to develop front-end-based, forms-based assistance. And here we offer a starter kit for front-end development for the AI Hub. So here also we speed up developers by providing starter kits for their front-end, and then they can publish their front-end, and we load it via micro front-ends into our AI Hub. And that works out quite well. We went live with our AI Hub in March. The first month we got quite some hype. Yeah? So we can see we have 1.2K unique users in the first month on 55,000 requests on our internal GPT version. And the last month now, I mean, there was a little bit of a hype decrease, but we still have, I think, doubled our requests, at least for the unique user and for the GPT usages. And that shows that it's not only a hype, it's really also used by our internal employees. I want to shortly show you the most important building blocks also that we have in our platform that we publish in our artifact repository. As I mentioned, the AI Hub itself, it's an operative building block with a starter kit for front-end developments where you need it. And what we have is a core library. In this core library, we basically wrap all the most important integration parts that you need to develop AI solutions. For example, you want to talk to a large language model, you want to talk to an embedding model, to some document services. We wrap that in a controlled way so that you don't have to worry about downstream library updates and so on. Yeah, so we cover that and wrap that. It's beneficial to have stable interfaces. We have a bot template which speeds up the product development of chat-based AI products. We have a content extractor that helps getting data out of documents. The indexer, obviously, that helps indexing documents and data into vector databases. A web scraper that allows, a building block that allows full scraping of websites, including files and whatever there is on a website. And we also count our reference architectures as building blocks. They always come with an infrastructure as a code. So we have a stable reference architecture that is governed, that is approved by security, that is penetration tested in our instance that we always spin up for our penetration testers. So you can rely on that these infrastructures are, from a security perspective, also okay. You don't have to penetration test it all the time again if you follow and use the reference architectures every time. And we offer integration, we also count that we offer integration with low-code platforms, as I mentioned. What technologies do we use? You can see them on the right side in more detail, but obviously large language models, yeah, embedding models, vector databases, re-rankers, document intelligence services, other Azure cognitive services. So you might have recognized we are on Microsoft Azure as our main cloud provider. So I want to also, and this is probably interesting for you too, show you some challenges that we faced in our journey, and we are still facing, of course, all the time because we are always evolving, and some key takeaways for you. So what challenges did we face? I think the four major challenges that we are faced and facing are to identify new building blocks. And for that, you need to have specific AI architects that have a complete overview over all your use cases. That's my job in the end. And these are many for us. We have at the moment 150 use cases in the pipeline from business, quite a number. and to always identify what are the common parts in the use cases. Where can I build a building block? Where can I reuse it? And then also decide, does this make sense? Do I want to now invest into developing a building block, or do I want to wait? Because often I also have to talk with our AI partners, our cloud providers, and all of that to look at their roadmaps. Also, the low-code platform perspective, probably this a building block we want to build now in 3 months is a software as a service from a cloud provider. Can happen. So we call this a floating platform. So we have always floating building blocks floating up from our platform into the low-code platforms or into SaaS solutions from the cloud provider. That happens, and you should be open to also deprecate a building block. Yeah, you lose your baby, yeah, of course, but you have to in order to go with time, and this also happens for us all the time. Yeah? Building blocks get deprecated, they move into SaaS or into low-code platforms. Yeah? So you should be very careful when you want to develop building blocks. And what's also a challenge is obviously lifecycle management. So you can imagine we have a lot of building blocks, also the AI Hub itself. We have security updates, we have feature updates. How do we roll out the new building block versions to all the products in a centralized way? And here the answer is a central artifact repository and some kind of governance, some processes when there are updates that the product owners are informed via communication channels and update their building blocks. And last but not least, the management of external product development teams. So not only our internal development teams use our platform product, but also external development teams. And here it is crucial to have communication channels, well-documented, documentation about all the building blocks, development guidelines and reference architectures available for the external solution architects that you also then check in toll gates in the project. Are they following our development guidelines? Are they following our reference architectures? Do they actually implement it the way that we have documented it? Very important. Some key takeaways. Yes, a self-service platform, I think it's key to scale in a large enterprise with a lot of demand. I don't see another way. Yeah? If you don't want to have a 100-sized central development team for AI solution, and I mean, yeah, it's quite costly. You should create reference architectures from recurring infrastructure patterns, and in the best case, also provide infrastructure as a code templates. There's a ton of languages out there, yeah, Bicep, ARM, Terraform, that come with the actual reference architectures and are available for the development teams. Create building blocks to reuse code, mentioned that already quite some times here now, and evaluate carefully when you want to invest into creation of a building block or updating it or even want to discontinue the development of it. And our approach, as I said, and it works quite well, is enable federated development teams in using a central platform, so centralize the decentralization, and this really enables you to reach a quite good time to market also when you have smaller teams and you have a lot of demand. And the central platform teams that plays a key role here serves as an enabler for that. So that's it from my side. I'm on LinkedIn, would be happy to connect with you if you have any further questions. And yeah, thank you very much and for the nice conference too.